If I can interrupt your conversation to welcome you all here tonight. I'm Kathy Spahn, and I have the incredible privilege of being the CEO of Helen Keller International. And it's really wonderful to be here with all of you tonight in this beautiful room, celebrating the spirit of a woman. It's the theme of tonight's program, and it's also central to the work that Helen Keller International does. I want to start out by thanking our amazing Gala co-chairs, Brooks Betts and Henry and Karen Barkhorn. If you would give a wave. Helen Keller was a remarkable woman, and tonight we're celebrating not only her incredible courage and her determination, but we're also paying tribute to those who are carrying on her legacy of service. So we're absolutely thrilled to be honoring Lions Clubs International, Kate Gans, and the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton. I want to thank you again for joining us tonight and for your generosity, because every dollar you've given to HKI has transformed the lives of women, children, families around the world. HKI has a very simple premise: to provide our fellow human beings with basic things that we all too often take for granted: our sight and our health, and our ability to get the care we need when these are threatened. We work in countries where the rates of blindness are incredibly high, more than 3 times as many blind people in the countries where we work than in this country. And what we find in these countries is that 2/3 of the people who are blind, a full 2/3 of them, are women and children. These women have lost not just their sight, but their ability to contribute productively to their families. They end up trapped in cycles of poverty and of poor health that they can't get out of. And the children who go blind lose the chance to go to school because there are no facilities for blind kids to get schooling. So they can't learn skills to earn a living, they can't contribute productively to their communities. The hope that every parent has for a child has been robbed from them. But the staggering fact, and those of you who know HKI well know this, is that 80% of all blindness could have been prevented or treated. We know how to do it. The science exists, the solutions are cost-effective, and they are proven. So if you think about that, that means that 8 out of 10 people in this world who are blind didn't need to go blind. That's what drives Helen Keller International staff day in, day out, 24/7 around the clock. Our staff around the world work tirelessly to prevent blindness and to improve access to much-needed healthcare services. There's one blinding disease we combat that has a name that's as hard to pronounce as the disease is disabling and debilitating: onchocerciasis, also called river blindness. It is excruciatingly uncomfortable. One of our honorees tonight, Lions Club International, has been a longtime champion in the fight to eliminate river blindness, and you'll hear more about that later on in the program. River blindness can be treated with a drug called Mectizan. The maker of that drug, Merck, is here tonight, and 25 years ago they made an amazing pledge to donate as much of that drug as was needed for as long as it was needed. No ceiling, no holds barred. So if you guys would raise your hands wherever you are. There they go. So Merck donates the drug, and it's our job at HKI to ensure that that drug gets to the people who need it. So we partner with local governments and community health workers in Cameroon, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, wherever the disease takes us, and we develop distribution systems to make sure the drugs get out there to the people who need them. Another way that we work to prevent blindness is through our programs to prevent vitamin A deficiency, which is the leading cause of childhood blindness. Here in America, we take vitamin A for granted. It's a natural part of our diets, especially if you're all eating healthily. It's in leafy greens, it's in carrots, it's in egg yolks. This isn't so in many of the countries where we work. And as a result, for lack of a vitamin, children are going blind. Vitamin A not only saves their sight, it can save their lives, because we've also learned that vitamin A strengthens a young child's immune system so that they can survive common illnesses like diarrhea or measles, illnesses that are literally killing children around the world because their immune systems aren't strong enough to fight them off. In fact, malnutrition is implicated in 1/3, 1 out of 3 of all deaths of children around the world. Pretty staggering. And then you compare that with the fact that the total cost to get high-dosage vitamin A supplements to young children is less than $1 per year per child. The World Bank calls this absolutely the, quote, single most cost-effective public health intervention. And that's one of the things that HKI does. We are a global leader in programs that ensure that these powerful supplements reach children under 5. Good nutrition is particularly important in the 1,000 days from pregnancy through a child's second birthday, because that's when life's building blocks are laid. After that time period, the damage can be irreversible. Secretary Clinton has been a leader in drawing attention to the critical importance of nutrition during this window. In 2010, she launched something called the 1,000 Days Partnership to ensure that every child has the ability to fully develop his or her talents throughout life. And we'll hear more about that a little later in the program. Vitamin A supplementation is a cornerstone of Helen Keller International's work, but we need to, and we have, gone far beyond that to ensure good nutrition all around. Not just food, because food can often be empty calories, but nutritious food full of essential vitamins and minerals so that children can grow up to be smart, healthy, and strong. We work with mothers in villages throughout Asia and Africa, and we provide them with seeds, saplings, seedlings, chickens, even poultry vaccines, and then agricultural training so that they can produce nutritious foods right in their own backyards. We teach them how to grow these foods, how to store them, how to process them, how to cook them, and even how to take their surplus produce to market so they can have some earned income of their own. I've had the great privilege of traveling around the world to visit HKI's programs, and there are so many amazing women I've met that stand out in my memory. Just this past February, I was in Burkina Faso. That's Upper Volta to those of us of a certain age, in West Africa. When I was there, I met Salamata. By herself, she supports 5 children, 7 grandchildren, and an elderly husband. But thanks to HKI, she not only has a home garden right in her backyard where she grows tomatoes, soybeans, eggplants, sweet potato, very high in vitamin A, and leafy greens so she can nourish her family, but she's also now so well respected in her village that she's sought after to give advice to new mothers on good nutrition, on the importance of breastfeeding, on the importance of hand washing and face washing, how to prepare foods, nutritious recipes. She's also what we call a farm leader. She teaches her fellow, or I guess I should say her sister, agricultural workers, how to do new techniques, crop spacing, crop rotation, so that they get as much produce as possible from those gardens. Thanks to women of tenacity and courage like Salamata, villages are being led out of malnutrition and eventually into prosperity because those well-nourished children are going to grow up healthy and strong. They're going to go to school, and they're going to learn the skills that will lift those villages out of poverty. We have seen this happen. It is proven. I don't want to take too much more of your time. We've got an exciting program ahead, but I do want to note that HKI works in the United States as well. Here in this country, 1 out of 5 middle school children in poor neighborhoods have uncorrected vision problems that could be solved with a pair of prescription eyeglasses. And that's just what we do. Right here in New York City, all the way out to Los Angeles, as well as in our work abroad. We go into schools for free, we do vision screenings, and we follow up with glasses that are in very trendy hip frames because no young teenager is going to wear glasses if they're not styling. And we bring them back to the kids in the school so they don't have to go anywhere to get them. Some of these kids, we find, were put in special education classes because they were thought to be slow learners. But all it was they couldn't see the blackboard. I know this very well from my own childhood and my need for glasses when I was 12. Glasses can make a huge difference for these children. Children like Abigail and Nancy, who attend St. Ignatius Middle School in the South Bronx. They're here with us this evening, along with some others from St. Ignatius. They got new eyeglasses last week. So Abigail and Nancy, can you give a shout out wherever you girls are? Back in the back middle of the room, wearing their glasses. Modeling very good compliance behavior. Thanks so much for coming. It's thanks to all of your support in this room that we've been able to restore opportunity and hope to women and girls like Salamata in Burkina Faso and Abigail and Nancy right here in New York City. As Helen Keller said, when we do the best we can, we never know what miracle is wrought in our life or in the life of another. For those of you tonight who are here with us for the first time, I hope you get swept up in our vision of a world where no one is needlessly blind and where no child gets cheated out of their potential because he or she didn't have the right foods to eat. And for those of you who are returning, thank you for continuing to carry the HKI flame. As you've seen on your tables, we've left you with a modest thank you, silk eyeglass cases made by extremely poor women in Cambodia. And I hope you read the tag that explains they're landmine survivors, drought survivors. Making these eyeglass cases provides these women with income and with hope. So you can imagine that we really brightened their day when we walked into that store in Phnom Penh a few months ago and said, we want to order 400 pairs of silk eyeglass cases. Yeah. So on behalf of all of our partners and all of our beneficiaries around the world, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. I hope you enjoy the award presentations as we honor 3 heroes, and that when the live auction comes later this evening, I urge you to bid high and bid often. There are some great items there. It's now my pleasure to introduce Henry Barkhorn, who's a co-chair of this evening's event, but also chair of the HKI Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Kathy. And on behalf of the board and the staff of Helen Keller International, I want to thank you all for being with us tonight. I have the distinct honor and privilege of presenting the Helen Keller Visionary Award. The Helen Keller Visionary Award was created to recognize institutional friends whose generosity and commitment has been vital to the advancement of our mission. In 1925, Helen Keller herself spoke to the Lions Club International Convention in Cedar Point, Ohio. Her address led to the Lions Club's adopting sight conservation and work with the blind as its primary focus of its community service. Through the decades, Lions have lived up to Helen Keller's challenge to become Knights of the Blind. As a trustee to visit HKI's programs in action, I have traveled to Africa, where we receive strong support from the Lions for our river blindness programs. And I don't know how many of you know much about river blindness, but the scientific name, as Kathy said, is onchocerciasis. But it is something out of a horror movie. Spread by black flies, its victims, and there are some 18 million around the world, become subject to severe itching, swelling, and inflammation of the skin, and in its final stages, it leads to blindness. Fortunately, it is treatable with doses of mectizan, which, as Kathy mentioned, have been generously donated for many years by its manufacturer, Merck. And then it's distributed through community-based efforts organized in Africa with the help of HKI and supported financially in several countries in Africa by Lions Club International. Helen Keller's last major public appearance was before the Lions in 1961 in Washington. At that gathering, she received their Lions Club Humanitarian Award for her lifetime of service to humanity and her inspiration of the Lions programs for sight conservation and work with the blind. So we think it is particularly fitting that we recognize Lions Club International tonight with our Helen Keller Visionary Award. Please join me in welcoming Barry Palmer, First Vice President of Lions Club International, who has traveled all the way from Australia to be with us tonight, and who will accept the Helen Keller Visionary Award on behalf of Lions Club International. As we present the award, let me echo Helen Keller's words to the Lions many years ago. Knights of the Blind, I salute you. Well done, good and faithful Knights of the Blind. Can you just get around here? Which one is which? The first one? There we go. We're gonna get it there we go. I think we want to get some pictures here. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that very kind introduction of what Lions does around the world. and also for the Visionary Award that you have recognised us with. I'm honoured to accept it on behalf of the 1.35 million Lions Club members serving their communities in over 46,000 Lions Clubs in more than 200 countries around the world. Tonight is very special for our organisation to be recognised by Helen Keller International, our partner, and join these distinguished fellow honourers. We're so happy to celebrate with many other organisations and dedicated individuals who have shared our admiration and respect for the life, the spirit and the vision and the legacy of Helen Keller. Lions Clubs International has a very special history with Helen Keller. Back in 1925, when she was invited to speak at our small annual convention, then held in Ohio. There she challenged the Lions, as you've heard, to become Knights of the Blind in the crusade against darkness. At that time, Lions was a relatively young organisation, not yet 10 years old. But Lions were empowered by her vision and her challenge, and that everyday people in civil society could serve in such a noble way as to be Knights of the Blind. Lions Clubs quickly accepted Miss Keller's challenge. They further dedicated themselves to supporting and providing local site programs and initiatives. Today, 90 years on, Lions Clubs International is the world's largest service organisation, with members in nearly every country around the world. 1 in 4 Lions members is a woman who is dedicated to finding new ways to give back and better her community as an equal. Lions' local work and support for people with visual impairment has extended through our foundation, and over the last 3 decades, our International Foundation's Sight First program has mobilised and distributed $400 million in donations grants for blindness prevention. Lions Clubs International Foundation grants help to Lions, their partners and health authorities and other NGOs to build local capacities and there save and restore sight for millions of people. An example is our current efforts with Helen Keller International in Africa, as you've heard. Prevent the terrible disease of river blindness, a neglected tropical disease amongst the most vulnerable and poor in Cameroon. Together, our efforts are making to distribute more than 3.5 million doses of Metscan, thanks to Merrick and many other local partners, and to train and retain a cadre of 17,000 health workers. But far more valuable than our grants and financial support is the community engagement and awareness building that makes possible when our Lions Clubs involved as fellow local stakeholders. In Cameroon, that means 600 local men and women in Lions Clubs are investing in our joint river blindness efforts. Local Lions are raising awareness among their fellow community members and in advocating with the local, national governments to the effect lifelong changes. Helen Keller was a true visionary. She saw the possibilities of empowering our civil society members and a powerful local role they could play in the crusade against darkness in its many forms, perhaps literally and figuratively. Her challenges had a ripple effect that forever changed how Lions Clubs sought to change and empower many communities and lives around the world. We are proud to partner with Helen Keller International. They see and realise the potential for real change when local communities and stakeholders, including Lions, are rallied around and shared humanitarian challenges. In closing, I would like to thank the leadership of the Helen Keller International for this award. I'll leave you with some other inspiring, challenging words from Helen Keller that are true today as when she first said them, and they're written on everything on your table. Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. Together, and only together, We have accomplished much, but there is so much yet to do. Lions Clubs remain ever dedicated to service and to Helen Keller's spirit, vision and her challenge to join with others to be Knights of the Blind in communities around the world. Thank you so much.